The Hawaiian sun bleeds crimson across Honolulu's skyline as Sergeant James Rodriguez pulls his dusty Chevy Silverado into the driveway of his modest two-story home on Pali Highway. It's 6:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in late September, and the trade winds carry the sweet scent of plumeria mixed with something else, something that makes his gut tighten with unease. He's been away for 3 weeks. Not deployed overseas this time, just intensive training exercises at Schofield Barracks on the North Shore. His fatigues still smell like red dirt and gun oil. His muscles ache from carrying 80-pound rucksacks through mock combat scenarios. But none of that matters now. Because as he cuts the engine, he hears something that stops his heart cold. A woman's voice. His wife's voice. Drifting through the cracked basement window. "He's gone forever." The words float up like poison vapor, barely audible above the evening cicadas. James freezes, his hand still on the door handle. His wedding ring, a simple tungsten band bought at Costco for $89.99, suddenly feels like it's strangling his finger. If you're still watching, drop a comment below. This story gets darker than you can possibly imagine. James Rodriguez met Emily Patterson at a 4th of July barbecue in 2017. She was a dental hygienist at Pearl Harbor Naval Clinic, with auburn hair that caught the firework light like copper wire. He was a freshly promoted corporal, cocky and lean at 28, with the kind of optimism that only comes before you've seen real combat. Their courtship was volcanic. 3 months of late-night beach walks, sunrise hikes up Diamond Head, and the kind of physical chemistry that made his buddies jealous. They married that December at a small ceremony overlooking Waikiki Beach. The reception cost $6,300, mostly paid for by James's signing bonus from re-enlisting. Emily moved into James's rental house, a 200-square-foot property with termite damage and a leaky roof, but it was theirs. She quit her job at the clinic 6 months later, complaining about the stress, the politics, the passive-aggressive dentist who micromanaged her every move. James didn't mind supporting her. That's what husbands did, right? But something shifted after his first deployment to Afghanistan in 2019. When he returned, Emily seemed different, distant. She'd started wearing more makeup, buying expensive clothes from Ala Moana Center, charges on their shared Capital One visa that made him wince. $347 at Nordstrom, $522 at Sephora, $890 at Gucci. "I needed to feel pretty while you were gone," she'd explain, touching his face with practiced tenderness. He believed her. God help him, he believed every word. James's boots make no sound as he approaches the side of the house. Years of tactical training kick in automatically. Weight on the balls of his feet. Breathing shallow. Senses hyper-tuned. The basement window is small, only about 18 inches wide, but through it he can see movement. Shadows dancing against the unfinished drywall. Emily's voice again, clearer now. "We just have to be patient for a few more months. Then everything's ours." A male voice responds, deep, familiar in a way that makes James's blood run arctic. "I'm tired of waiting, Em. I'm tired of sneaking around." James knows that voice. Kyle Brennan. His best friend since basic training, Kyle, who'd been best man at their wedding. Kyle, who'd house sat for them during deployments. Kyle, who James trusted with his life. The pieces click together with sickening clarity. The unexplained charges. Emily's sudden disinterest in physical intimacy. The way Kyle had been too busy to grab beers the last 6 times James invited him. James's hands curl into fists. His jaw clenches so tight he can hear his teeth grinding. But he doesn't move yet. He needs to hear more. He needs to understand the full scope of the betrayal before he acts. Emily sits in Kyle's apartment in Aiea, a cramped one-bedroom that smells like old pizza and protein powder. She's painting her toenails Essie's Bordeaux, watching each stroke with the kind of focus that keeps her from thinking about what she's doing. "He suspects something," she whispers, not looking up. Kyle's on the couch, scrolling through his phone. "He doesn't suspect shit. James is too trusting, too noble. He says the word like it tastes bad. Emily's chest tightens. She'd loved James once. Maybe she still did, in some broken, unfixable way. But Kyle made her feel alive, wild, like she wasn't just a soldier's wife waiting at home, slowly becoming invisible. We need a plan, Kyle continues. Something that gets him out of the picture permanently. Emily's hand trembles, smearing polish on her cuticle. What do you mean permanently? Kyle finally looks at her. His eyes are flat, calculating. I mean, we can't keep doing this. Either we're all in, or we're nothing. She should leave. She should run to her car and drive straight to the police. But instead, she nods. Okay. Tell me what you're thinking. James descends the outdoor basement stairs with the silence of a predator. The door is unlocked. They never lock it. Why would they? This is home. This is supposed to be safe. The basement is half finished. Concrete floor scattered with moving boxes, old furniture, a workbench where James rebuilds motorcycle parts. In the center of the space, Emily and Kyle sit on a battered leather couch salvaged from someone's curb. They're not touching, but the intimacy between them is palpable. Two bodies that know each other's geography. James clears his throat. Emily's head snaps up. Her face drains of color, white as sun-bleached coral. Kyle jumps to his feet, but there's nowhere to run. The basement has only one exit, and James is blocking it. James? Emily starts, her voice strangled. Shut up! The words come out like gravel. Just shut the fuck up. Kyle raises his hands in a placating gesture. Man, listen, this isn't what it looks like. That's when James's control shatters. He crosses the 12 feet between them in 3 strides and drives his fist into Kyle's jaw with every ounce of rage he's been swallowing. The crack of bone on bone echoes off concrete walls. Kyle stumbles backward, collides with the workbench. Tools clatter to the floor. A ball-peen hammer, socket wrenches, a box cutter. Emily screams. Kyle grabs the hammer. Everything slows down. James sees the weapon rise, sees the wild desperation in his former friend's eyes, and his training takes over. He sidesteps the swing, catches Kyle's wrist, torques it backward until something pops. Kyle howls. The hammer falls. But Kyle's other hand finds the box cutter. The blade springs out, just an inch and a half of Sheffield steel, but lethal enough. He slashes wildly. James feels the blade kiss his forearm, a line of white-hot pain that blooms into wet crimson. Emily's still screaming, backing into the corner, her phone clutched in trembling hands. James doesn't think. His body moves on instinct, on 1,000 hours of hand-to-hand combat training. He drives his elbow into Kyle's solar plexus, follows with a knee to the groin, then a final brutal strike to the throat. Kyle collapses, gasping, the box cutter skittering across concrete. James stands over him, chest heaving, blood dripping from his arm onto the floor. Drip, drip, drip. You would have killed me, James whispers. You actually would have killed me. The Honolulu Police Department arrives in 4 minutes. 2 patrol cars and an ambulance, sirens screaming up Pali Highway. Neighbors spill onto their lawns, smartphones recording everything for their Instagram stories. Officer Linda Kawamoto is first through the door. She finds James sitting on the basement steps, field dressing his arm wound with an old t-shirt. Kyle's on the floor, conscious but broken. Fractured jaw, dislocated shoulder, badly bruised throat. Emily's in the corner, still screaming incoherently. He attacked us! Emily shrieks when she sees the officers. James went crazy! He just started hitting Kyle for no reason! Officer Kawamoto looks at the blood, the scattered weapons, James's 1,000-yard stare. Sir, I need you to put your hands where I can see them. James complies automatically. Military discipline runs deep. Check her phone, he says quietly. Check the messages between them. This wasn't random. Detective Marcus Wong from HPD's Criminal Investigation Division catches the case. He's a 20-year veteran with sharp eyes and zero patience for bullshit. When he forensically examines Emily's iPhone 12 Pro, his eyebrows climb toward his hairline. The messages span 14 months, hundreds of them. Explicit photos, detailed discussions about James's deployment schedule. And then, buried in a signal chat from 6 weeks earlier, the smoking gun. Kyle. What if he just didn't come back from the next deployment? Emily. What are you saying? Kyle. I'm saying accidents happen in war zones. Friendly fire. Equipment malfunctions. Nobody would question it. Emily. That's insane, Kyle. Is it? Or is it the only way we get to be together? Really together? Emily. Emily. How would it even work? Detective Wong leans back in his chair, the glow of the phone screen washing his face blue. He's seen domestic betrayals before. Honolulu has one of the highest military divorce rates in the nation. But premeditated murder conspiracy? That's a different beast entirely. Further investigation reveals Kyle had been researching toxins, specifically poisons that could mimic battlefield injuries or tropical diseases. His browser history shows searches for undetectable heart attack substances and ricin exposure symptoms. He'd even contacted a darknet vendor, though no actual purchase had been made. The plan, as it crystallizes through forensic evidence, was chilling in its simplicity. Emily would send James care packages during his next deployment. One would contain contaminated food or supplements. Kyle had military connections who could provide the necessary substances. James would die overseas. Emily would collect his $400,000 service members group life insurance policy. She and Kyle would split the money and start fresh, probably on the mainland. The basement confrontation wasn't supposed to happen. James coming home early derailed everything. The trial takes place in Honolulu's Kalanamoku building, a brutalist concrete structure that always makes James think of a bunker. The media circus is intense. Local news, military news, even a segment on Dateline NBC. The soldier's betrayal, they call it. James hates every second of the attention. Emily and Kyle are tried separately. Emily's defense attorney, a slick mainland transplant in a $2,000 Armani suit, argues she was manipulated, that Kyle had groomed and controlled her, that she never seriously intended for James to die. The jury doesn't buy it. The signal messages are too calculating, too cold. Emily's testimony, where she tries to cry but can't quite manage real tears, rings false. When the prosecution plays the recording from the basement, Emily's voice saying, "He's gone forever," captured by Kyle's phone that had been accidentally recording in his pocket. The jury's faces harden to stone. Kyle doesn't even bother with a defense. His public defender is fresh out of law school, overworked and underpaid. The evidence is too overwhelming. The searches, the darknet contacts, the attempted assault on James with the box cutter. Kyle takes a plea deal. Conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, aggravated assault. 25 years without parole. Emily's verdict comes on a humid June morning. The jury foreman, a retired teacher with kind eyes, reads the decision in a steady voice. Guilty on all counts. Conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, adultery under military law, since she was a dependent. The judge, a stern Hawaiian woman named Patricia Akana, shows no mercy during sentencing. Mrs. Rodriguez, you betrayed not just your husband's trust, but the trust of every military family who depends on the strength of their bonds to survive separation and danger. You are sentenced to 18 years in the Hawaii Community Correctional Center for Women. James sits in the gallery, wearing his dress uniform, feeling nothing. Emptiness has replaced the rage. He watches Emily break down, finally producing real tears, and feels no satisfaction. Just exhaustion. James Rodriguez sits in a community center in Kailua, facing 20 military spouses. It's a support group for families dealing with betrayal, addiction, trauma, all the invisible wounds that military life can inflict. He's 37 now. The gray at his temples makes him look distinguished rather than old. He's been through 2 years of intensive therapy with a VA psychologist named Dr. Keanu Nakamura. He's learned to meditate, to process trauma, to forgive himself for not seeing the signs earlier. He's also learned to tell his story. The hardest part, he tells the group, his voice steady, wasn't the betrayal itself. It was learning to trust again, to believe that love could be real, not just a convenient lie. A woman in the back row raises her hand. Do you ever talk to her? To Emily? James shakes his head. No, I've forgiven her, in the sense that I don't carry the anger anymore. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. She made her choices. Now she lives with them. He's dating again. A physical therapist named Rachel who works at Tripler Army Medical Center. It's slow, careful, built on transparency rather than passion. They've been together 8 months. She knows everything. She stays anyway. Kyle Brennan sends letters sometimes, addressed to James at Fort Shafter. James burns them unread. Some doors, once closed, should stay that way. The Army promoted James to staff sergeant last year. He trains new soldiers in hand-to-hand combat, teaching them not just how to fight, but how to recognize threats, including the ones that don't wear enemy uniforms. He's also become an advocate for military spouse mental health, working with organizations that provide counseling and support. He's testified before congressional committees about the unique pressures military families face. His story, as painful as it is, has helped change policies, secure funding, raise awareness. On quiet nights, when Rachel is asleep beside him in their new apartment overlooking Waikiki, James sometimes thinks about that September evening. The whisper through the basement window. The moment his entire world shattered and reformed into something harder, sharper, but ultimately stronger. He survived. That's what soldiers do. The human heart is capable of extraordinary betrayal, but it's also capable of extraordinary resilience. James Rodriguez's story isn't just about violence and deception, it's about the journey from victim to survivor, from broken to rebuilt. Emily Patterson remains incarcerated, eligible for parole in 2036. Kyle Brennan has 12 more years before his first parole hearing. James has moved on. Sometimes justice isn't about revenge. Sometimes it's simply about living well. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more true crime stories that explore not just the darkness in human nature, but the light that can emerge from even the deepest shadows. Drop a comment telling us your thoughts. And remember, betrayal may break you, but it doesn't have to define you. Stay safe out there.